Imagine this. A word flashes on your screen: Israel. For some, it means a sacred homeland. For others, a symbol of war, occupation, and power. But here's the truth that almost no one tells you. Not every Jew is a Zionist. Not every Zionist is religious. And Israel itself is not the same as Judaism. Stay with me till the end, because once you understand the real difference between these three words, you'll see world news, religion, and even history in a completely different light. Welcome to Dean Talk History, where we uncover the truths that textbooks often skip. If you believe in learning before judging, and if you want clarity in a world full of confusion, then hit subscribe and let's travel deep, beyond politics, beyond headlines, to the real story behind Jews, Zionists, and Israel. Let's start with the oldest identity of the three, the Jews. Being Jewish is both a faith and an ethnicity. The Jewish story begins with Prophet Abraham, known as Ibrahim in Islam, and continues through the prophets Isaac, Jacob, and Moses. Judaism is a monotheistic religion, meaning it believes in one God, the same God worshipped by Christians and Muslims. But here's where things get interesting. Being Jewish doesn't always mean being religious. Many Jews today identify culturally, not spiritually. You can be a Jew and live your entire life outside of Israel. You can be a Jew who doesn't even believe in Zionism. In fact, many Jewish scholars, even rabbis, say that the Torah forbids the creation of a political Jewish state before the coming of the Messiah. So Judaism, the religion, is about faith, ethics, and law. But Zionism is something else entirely. To understand Zionism, we travel back to Europe in the late 1800s. At that time, Jews across Europe faced deep persecution, discrimination, and violence. Pogroms swept across Eastern Europe, and many Jewish communities lived in constant fear. Out of that suffering came a man named Theodor Herzl, an Austrian journalist. Herzl wasn't a religious man. He was secular, but he had a vision. The only way Jews could be safe, he said, is by having a homeland of their own. And that idea of a national home for the Jewish people became Zionism. It began as a political movement, not a religious mission. Its goal, to create a Jewish state, anywhere safe. In fact, the first proposed homeland wasn't even Palestine. It was Uganda. But soon, the Zionist movement turned its eyes to a land already sacred to Jews and to Muslims and Christians, Palestine. After centuries of exile, Zionists claimed this was their promised land. But here's the twist. That land was already home to hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, Muslims, Christians, and Jews living side by side. Fast forward to 1948. After World War II and the horrors of the Holocaust, the world felt sympathy for the Jewish people. The British, who controlled Palestine under a mandate, made a controversial promise decades earlier, the Balfour Declaration, supporting the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. When Israel was declared a state in 1948, it was celebrated by Zionists worldwide, but mourned by Palestinians as the Nakba, or the catastrophe. Over 700,000 Palestinians were forced to leave their homes. Entire villages were erased from the map. The new state of Israel became the embodiment of Zionism, a political reality born from historical pain, but also from human displacement. And from that moment on, the words Zionist, Jew, and Israeli began to blur together, creating the confusion and division we still see today. So let's separate the threads clearly. Judaism is a religion. Zionism is a political ideology. Israel is a modern state, created by that ideology. Not every Jew supports Zionism. Some of the most outspoken critics of Israel's actions are Jewish rabbis themselves. They argue that their faith calls for peace and justice, not occupation or apartheid. Meanwhile, many non-Jewish Zionists, especially Christian Zionists in the West, support Israel for political or even theological reasons. So being Zionist doesn't automatically mean being Jewish, and being Jewish doesn't automatically mean supporting Israel's government. Today, Israel is a powerful state with advanced technology, a strong military and nuclear capabilities. But behind that power lies a growing global debate. Can a nation founded as a refuge for one people justify the ongoing suffering of another? Many Jews around the world, from New York to London to Tel Aviv, now protest against Zionism. They carry banners saying, "Judaism yes, Zionism no," because they believe that the State of Israel, in its current form, does not represent their faith, but rather a political agenda that has drifted far from it. On the other side, millions of Palestinians still live under occupation, checkpoints and blockades, waiting for justice that the world promised but never delivered. So when someone says Israel, don't just think of a single group of people or a single religion. Think of history, politics, and humanity intertwined in one of the most complex stories ever told. Remember, questioning Zionism is not the same as hating Jews. Many Jews themselves reject Zionism out of deep moral conviction. The real enemy is not faith, it's the misuse of faith to justify oppression. If this video opened your eyes, don't let the truth stop here. Share it. Comment what you learned. And subscribe, because next time, we're diving even deeper into how politics, prophecy, and power collide in the Middle East. Until then, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, truth doesn't fear being examined.